Why is France suddenly sweating over a young African leader who's become the centre of global attention? Because for the first time in a long time, someone dared to flip the script, and it's shaking up the very foundations of France's grip on its former colonies. That someone, a 35-year-old captain-turned-president named Ibrahim Traore. And according to whispers coming out of West Africa, France may have tried nearly 18 times to get rid of him, and failed every single time. So how exactly did a young man with no political dynasty behind him, no billionaire backers, and no Western approval rise to become one of the most talked about leaders in the world? It all started in October 2022, when Ibrahim Traore pulled off something nobody saw coming. He became the youngest president on the African continent, not by election, not by inheritance, but because the people had had enough, and they saw something in him that inspired hope. This wasn't your typical power grab. Traore wasn't from a wealthy family. He wasn't groomed in elite political circles. He was a humble military captain who knew what it meant to grow up struggling, just like millions of his fellow Burkinabe. At the time, Burkina Faso was crumbling. People were hungry. Armed groups were terrorizing villages. Trust in the government had collapsed. The nation was on its knees. So when Traore stepped forward, it wasn't just a new leader showing up. It was a symbol of something bigger, a break from the past, a promise of dignity and independence. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He told his people, "We have a lot of work ahead. The road will be tough. Don't let age or fear hold you back. Dream big, even if it feels impossible." And here's the twist. He didn't just talk, he acted. From day one, Traore started undoing the very structures that kept Burkina Faso locked in France's shadow. Military bases, economic controls, foreign contracts, all of it began to unravel as he pushed for a new kind of future. If you are still watching this video, it means you love Captain Traore and what he stands for. Why not take out a second and hit that like button? This helps to push this video so more Africans can see what's happening and bring about change on our continent. Have you done that? Let us move on. Traore's speeches don't sound like they were polished by some PR team. He speaks straight from the gut, raw, emotional, and real. And that's exactly why people listen. He's not just a man in a military uniform or a politician behind a podium. He's someone who lived the same struggles, walked the same streets, and saw his country's riches vanish while its people went hungry. When the last French troops finally packed up and left Burkina Faso, the world held its breath. Some expected chaos. Instead, Traore moved fast. Terrorist groups tried to creep back out of hiding. But Burkina Faso wasn't caught off guard. The military was already being reshaped from the inside out. New special units were formed, local troops were rearmed, and the message was clear. Burkina Faso would no longer be a playground for foreign powers or militant threats. But not everyone was clapping, especially not in Paris. France had deep pockets in Burkina Faso, especially in its gold mines. And now Traore was threatening the flow of wealth that had quietly benefited French corporations for years. Why did his actions rattle Paris so much? Well, it goes far beyond politics. You see, Burkina Faso is one of the richest countries in West Africa when it comes to gold. But for decades, most of that gold never really stayed in the country. It was mined, shipped and sold, often under contracts that gave France the lion's share, while locals got crumbs. Even worse, the currency used in Burkina Faso, the CFA franc. It's printed in France, and half of the region's financial reserves are still kept in the French treasury. That's not independence, that's financial handcuffs. So when Traore started tearing up those old rules, nationalising resources, insisting on Burkinabe ownership, pushing out French companies, it wasn't just a policy shift, it was a direct strike at the very system that's kept France influential in Africa since colonial days. And when he told French troops to leave, shut down their military bases, and kicked out foreign-controlled media outlets, it wasn't just about defence, it was about reclaiming pride, culture, and control. This made Traore more than a problem, it made him a symbol. But his fight hasn't ended at the French border. According to him, the pressure isn't just coming from Paris anymore. He claims that neighbouring countries, like Benin and Ivory Coast, are now helping France try to destabilise Burkina Faso. And the allegations are serious. Traore says there are 2 hidden French military bases operating out of Benin. He believes those secret bases are being used to coordinate attacks inside Burkina Faso, helping insurgents stir chaos and weaken the country from within. France, of course, denies everything. They've dismissed the claims as fiction. But the tension is real, and the accusations have only deepened the rift. Things are heating up fast in West Africa, and the old power dynamics are crumbling right before our eyes. Burkina Faso, along with its neighbours Mali and Niger, is rewriting the rulebook. These countries, all now led by military governments, are ditching their long-time Western allies and forming a new alliance that leans heavily toward Russia. It's a bold pivot, and no one's been more aggressive about it than Ibrahim Traore. Here's what's wild. Burkina Faso isn't some economic giant. It's a relatively poor country. But that hasn't stopped Traore from standing up to a global heavyweight like France and making it stick. From the very beginning, Traore made one thing crystal clear: French troops had to go. He didn't tiptoe around the issue. One of his first moves as president was to order every single French soldier off Burkinabe land. This wasn't just about optics, it was a calculated decision. For years, France claimed it was there to help fight terrorism. But many locals felt otherwise. They saw foreign soldiers setting up shop, calling the shots and doing little to improve security. To them, it looked more like occupation than protection. So when Traore said enough, people rallied behind him. It wasn't just a military shake-up, it was a loud, proud reclaiming of Burkina Faso's independence. But he didn't stop with soldiers. Next up, French corporations. These companies had operated in the country for years, digging up gold, draining resources, and giving little in return. Environmental damage, poor working conditions, tax evasion, you name it. Traore moved fast to push them out and make way for reforms that put local workers and communities first. It was a massive step toward economic self-determination. But the most radical change wasn't economic or military, it was cultural. In a move that stunned the international community, Traore announced that French would no longer be considered an official language in Burkina Faso. Instead, he called for the revival and recognition of indigenous languages, those that reflect the true identity of the people. It was a symbolic punch to the gut of the colonial legacy that had shaped education, government, and culture for generations. Of course, France didn't take this lying down. There were diplomatic jabs, back-channel threats, and economic pressure, but none of it scared Traore into retreat. If anything, it lit a fire under the people. His bravery inspired unity. For the first time in a long while, Burkinabe from all walks of life seemed to be on the same page. The era of foreign control was over. But that kind of resistance doesn't come without risks. Since stepping into power, Traore has faced no fewer than 18 assassination attempts. 18. Let that sink in. That's not just a random number. That's a stark reminder of how high the stakes are, and how many powerful people want him gone. These aren't just lone wolf attacks. This is an organised, ongoing effort to eliminate a leader who refuses to play by the old rules. Because Traore isn't just disrupting business. He's threatening an entire system, one built on exploitation, silence, and obedience. And for the first time in a long time, that system is starting to crack. Every time Traore walks away from an assassination attempt, it's more than just survival. It's a statement. A reminder to the world. Burkina Faso refuses to be silenced, and it's not just about him. His people see themselves in his resilience. They see a leader standing firm in the storm, refusing to back down, even as the threats multiply, from foreign powers clinging to old influence, from insiders feeding off instability, from elites afraid of losing their grip on power. Traore once put it bluntly, "I can't be at the top of the state as a young guy and prefer to be eating Russenball like everyone else under mangroves." That's his way of saying he didn't sign up for comfort or status. He gave up his youth, traded in peace and normalcy, to fight for something bigger than himself, a future for his country. He knows exactly what he's up against. This isn't random chaos. These attacks are sharp, calculated, and designed to crush him. But he's not just surviving, he's growing stronger. Every plot against him only adds more fuel to his fire. This isn't a battle for today. It's a long-haul mission to shape what Burkina Faso will look like tomorrow. And what sets Traore apart isn't just that he's lived through danger, it's that he still dares to dream big while under fire. Most leaders in his position would go into defence mode. Not Traore. He's building something that will outlive him, a nation rooted in pride, unity, and real independence. That vision comes to life in one of his boldest projects yet, Renaissance City. This isn't your average development plan. This is a statement in concrete and steel. A city not carved out with loans from the International Monetary Fund. Not approved by some foreign boardroom, but imagined, designed and funded by Burkina Faso for Burkina Faso. Every road that's built, every building that rises, is a clapback at those who said the country couldn't stand on its own. For every sanction, there's a new school. For every threat, a new hospital. For every whisper of doubt, a visible step forward. Renaissance City is more than infrastructure. It's a revolution in architecture, a physical rejection of decades of dependency, a visual anthem that says loud and clear, we are not waiting for permission to rise. Traore isn't just leading a country, he's flipping the script on centuries of expectations. For too long, Africa's progress has been tied to foreign approval, always under the watchful eye of Western governments or international banks. But with Renaissance City, that narrative is being torn to shreds. This isn't about waiting for aid. It's about building something from scratch, with local hands, local minds, and local ambition. Every skyscraper that climbs the skyline of Renaissance City is a loud, proud message. We don't need permission to grow. Every industry booming within its borders is living proof that African talent isn't just capable, it's unstoppable when unleashed. This isn't just a place on the map. Renaissance City is a symbol, a city powered not by imported plans, but by Burkinabe innovation. Designed to serve people, not profit foreign shareholders. Built to create jobs, boost local business, and spark sustainable industries. Not to drain the land of resources for someone else's gain. And the timing? Absolutely perfect. Just as France scrambles to maintain its shrinking influence in West Africa, Burkina Faso is building its future from the ground up, without them. The irony is almost poetic. The former empire, once feared and revered, is now watching from the sidelines while its former colony sets the pace for what independence truly looks like. Renaissance City isn't just an urban project. It's a declaration of war against dependency and a promise to never go back. While Paris reels from the loss of control, Ouagadougou is pouring concrete into a vision that centres its people and rewrites what's possible for African development. But this isn't just about one country standing tall. The ripple effects are massive. France's entire post-colonial economy has been quietly propped up by the continued flow of African wealth. Gold, uranium, cocoa, oil, it all played a role in building the roads of Paris and fueling its global clout. Now imagine pulling out that foundation, one country at a time. That's exactly what's happening. Think of it like a Jenga tower. With every African nation that reclaims its resources and demands sovereignty, another piece of that tower falls out. And when Burkina Faso said no more, France didn't just lose contracts, it lost a strategic anchor, a military foothold, a symbol of dominance in West Africa. And just like that, the tower started to wobble. French corporations that once had Africa wrapped around their fingers are now scrambling to survive. Their grip is loosening, profits are shrinking, and the future they once took for granted is suddenly uncertain. And with that unravelling comes a second, more painful blow. France's carefully polished image as Africa's friendly partner is cracking wide open. The glossy promises, the staged diplomacy, the talk of cooperation, it's all falling apart. What's left is the truth. Decades of exploitation dressed up as aid. But here's where it gets even more uncomfortable for Paris. This isn't just about money. This is about identity. France built a story about being Africa's protector, a guiding force for progress. Now, Burkina Faso is tearing that story to shreds and replacing it with a new narrative, one of real, unapologetic independence. And under Ibrahim Traore, Burkina Faso isn't just fighting back, it's flourishing. One of his biggest game changers? Launching a state-owned bank. But this isn't just about managing money. This bank is designed to fuel the dreams of everyday Burkinabe. It's funding local farmers, supporting family-run businesses, backing renewable energy. It's financial freedom built for Burkinabe by Burkinabe. And agriculture, long treated as an afterthought in favour of raw exports, is now front and centre. Traore is putting tools, seeds and training directly into the hands of farmers, turning the soil into a weapon against hunger and economic dependency. At every turn, he's rejecting the idea that progress must come with a foreign stamp of approval. One of the boldest examples, his full-throttle push for renewable energy. Burkina Faso has a massive solar energy potential, and Traore is making sure it doesn't go to waste. He's investing in solar farms, powering rural areas, and reducing the country's reliance on imported electricity, cutting off yet another avenue of foreign control. But he knows that energy alone isn't enough. For real independence to last, the next generation needs to be ready. That's why he's pouring resources into education and innovation. Not just classrooms, but real-world training, tech programs, vocational schools, scholarships that prepare young people to build, manage and grow a self-reliant Burkina Faso. The ripple effect is already happening. Other African nations are watching closely. They're realizing that if Burkina Faso can push back and survive, it's possible for them too. Mali followed suit and sent French troops packing. Guinea is rethinking the way it does trade. Slowly but surely, the script is changing. Traore's rise isn't just a political shift, it's a cultural spark. He's not just changing policies, he's changing mindsets. And that more than anything is what scares the old powers the most. Across the continent, a quiet revolution is picking up speed. African nations are beginning to peel away the layers of colonial legacy, rediscovering their languages, embracing their own cultural identities, and reclaiming what was once suppressed. And right at the centre of this awakening is Burkina Faso. Under Ibrahim Traore's leadership, Burkina Faso has become more than just a country breaking free. It's the heartbeat of a rising Pan-African wave that champions unity, dignity, and real independence. But let's be real, the path forward isn't smooth. Those who benefited from Africa's dependence aren't giving up easily. From slanted headlines in international media to economic sanctions and whispered backroom plots, powerful interests are doing everything they can to slow this momentum. They want things to stay exactly as they've been, predictable, profitable, and under control. Yet something has shifted. More African countries are stepping up, nodding in agreement, and standing in solidarity. The idea of a self-determined Africa is no longer a dream. It's a growing movement, loud, proud, and refusing to back down. Now the conversation turns to what lies ahead. How do you protect this momentum? And how do you protect the man at the centre of it all? Traore's courage has earned him love, but it's also painted a massive target on his back. Assassination attempts, political sabotage, economic traps. His defiance hasn't gone unnoticed, and it comes at a price. But the danger doesn't always come from across the border. In Africa's history, some of its most visionary leaders weren't brought down by foreign armies, but by betrayal from within. That's the shadow Traore must now walk through. He may have survived bullets, but the real test could come from those closest to him. His strength lies in the people. Their trust has carried him this far. But that same deep connection can be fragile, easily exploited if internal divisions begin to spread. To stay ahead, Traore relies on a tightly knit circle of trusted allies, while also expanding a broader web of Pan-African partnerships. He's not fighting alone anymore, and that's key. Even so, Burkina Faso is still under pressure. It faces isolation from global institutions, trade roadblocks, the constant threat of being undermined through diplomacy, economic force, or military moves. And all of this while trying to build something new from the ground up. Traore knows the stakes, but with every challenge he seems to dig in deeper. His resolve becomes sharper, and so does the belief spreading across the continent that Africa doesn't need to be saved by outsiders. It needs to believe in itself. Young people are watching him, learning from his moves, and beginning to imagine futures not defined by struggle, but by strength. This is no longer just Burkina Faso's story. It's Africa's reawakening, a shared realization that unity isn't just a nice idea, it's the key to breaking free for good. What's unfolding right now goes far beyond politics. It's history being rewritten in real time. For centuries, Africa was seen as nothing more than a source of wealth for others, exploited and overlooked. Today, it's reclaiming its voice, emerging as a continent bursting with power, innovation, and strength. At the centre of this historic moment stands Ibrahim Traore. He's more than a leader, he's proof that it's possible to confront the world's biggest powers and win. But his legacy won't be defined by resistance alone. He's planting the seeds for a future that's proudly African, independent, innovative, and built on self-reliance. As Burkina Faso charts its own path, the entire continent watches closely, inspired by the possibilities. The question isn't whether Africa will rise, it's how high and how far. And with a leader like Traore guiding the way, one thing is absolutely clear. This journey is just getting started. But now let's turn the conversation over to you. Do you think assassination attempts can truly stop Traore? What would the world look like if France lost its influence in Africa completely? And what's your take on Western involvement in African countries? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. On this channel, we explore Africa's rich history, vibrant cultures, and the fight for true independence. Join this powerful movement by subscribing today. When you subscribe, you're not just watching, you're helping to reclaim Africa's rightful place on the global stage. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you'll never miss an update. Together we'll spread awareness and inspire meaningful change. Thanks for watching.